Alright guys, today we're going to talk about how reading can be detrimental to your accent when you're trying to learn a new language. So this is a controversial topic because, even in the emerging community, right, people recommend to read and listen a lot. And here's the thing, reading is amazing, alright? But if you want to have a perfect accent in a language and you want to sound native, you're going to have to delay reading a little bit. Or not a little bit, but a lot, right? And I'm going to speak to my own experience. So I have close to a perfect accent in both French and Japanese. And the thing with French is that I hate reading, right? I hate reading in French, in English too. So all my content that I consumed in French was through pure listening alone. And I noticed that when I only immersed in listening and I did no reading in French, I did some reading, like I read some books, but like they were just very boring and there were just too many words I didn't know. So I decided to just stick to immersing in YouTube videos. So basically the way I learned French was just to learn YouTube videos and watch YouTube videos, right? I ended up having a perfect accent after like a year of immersing in French YouTube, right? And I had the same experience with Japanese. I only focused on listening in Japanese. And I used that as my base. And once I was able to understand like anime at like 80% comprehension, that's when I started to learn reading, right? But I made sure that I was able to understand Japanese for like 80%, right? Through only listening, being illiterate, before I even went to reading. See, so that's why like my accent in Japanese like pretty much perfect. And I was able to acquire pitch accent for this reason. Was because I only focused on listening. So, and it's not, the thing about languages, guys, is that it's not just about the amount of time you spend with the language, it's the order, right? So let's say, for example, hypothetically speaking, let's say it takes you 4,000 hours of listening and 4,000 hours of reading to get fluent in Japanese. So that's a total of 8,000 hours. Now, if you're to do 8,000 hours of listening first, basically did all, 4,000 hours of listening first, and then you were to do 4,000 hours of reading, you would end up being perfect by the end of that. But if you did the reverse, if you focused on 4,000 hours of reading Japanese first, and then you try to catch up your listening and your accent by doing 4,000 hours after of listening, it's not going to have the same results, even though you spent the same amount of time in total on both. Like, guys, this is crazy. And the reason is because too much reading can influence how your ears are able to bloom, right? When it comes to having a perfect accent, guys, it's not about the words or the grammar, it's about how your ears are able to perceive and listen for those sounds. And when you know too much of the language, it actually inhibits you from fully tuning your ears into the language. So, for example, if you were to say like, I'm going to blank dinner tonight, right? So if you were trying to learn English and, because you didn't develop your ears a lot, you kind of vaguely heard, I need to blank dinner tonight. And if you were doing a lot of reading, you would intuitively know, I need to make dinner tonight. I need to make dinner, right? But because you know the knowledge of English through reading, that is inhibiting you from making your ears bloom. So do you guys see how when you want to have a perfect accent in language, you need to only listen? Because you're interfering with your brain's ability to completely and utterly mimic the accent of a native, right? When you read. Reading is a good thing for increasing vocabulary. But when it comes to having a perfect accent, this is how it can be detrimental. So it's not just about how long you do something, it's about the order of how you do it. Because sometimes if you learn reading too early, you could actually do something that's like irreversible. Torikaeshi no tsukanai koto. You could do something that's like completely just, you can't like, or at least it's gonna be very hard, right? Like I can't think of remedies of like if you did too much reading in the beginning and you fucked up your accent. Like there are certain remedies like I can come up with that could potentially fix your accent, but you're gonna have to do like a lot of work with like your pronunciation, and you're gonna have to have like a native next to you, and like you're gonna have to like practice pronunciation and like tuning your ears again, but it's just gonna be like a whole different skill set, right? And a lot of effort that you didn't need to do. Like if you just focus on listening, like if you just like immerse yourself like a baby, like babies, they only listen to language for the first like 6 years, 7 years of their life, 8 years of their life. I don't know like when they start to read. And then they go to school and they learn to read, right? Like babies are already fluent, like kids are already fluent in the learning language before they learn how to read. Like this is the proper way to learn languages, guys. right? And this is assuming that you want a perfect accent, right? Now, potentially, you may be able to learn the language faster with reading, right, as an adult, because reading is like a cheat code because all the words are written on there. Whereas with listening, like your ears have to pick up on the words, right? So it's a completely different ballgame. It's harder to listen than to read. But that's going to like inhibit your accent. Your accent is not going to be perfect. And here's the thing, guys. Like I think it's worth the trade-off. Like even if you learn a little bit slower with only listening, I think it's worth the trade-off in order for you to have a perfect accent, you know? And, you know, this is what I do in French, and this is what I'll do with my future languages. Like, I plan to learn Arabic, right? And I'm not even going to learn how to read Arabic. I'm just literally just going to, like, listen to Arabic TV shows, Arabic YouTube videos, right? I'll try to find, like, people that speak Arabic on YouTube. I'll listen to the Quran, like, just listen to it, right? Like, these are things that, like, I'm going to do to learn Arabic, right? Because I need to tune my ears into the language first before I learn how to read. Because remember, it's the order, right? And, you know, that's how reading can be detrimental, you know, because when you know too much of the language through reading, it could inhibit your ear's ability to be able to hear the language in the future, right? So that's why, like, in the beginning, it's just better to just only have your ears bloom and fully tune into the sounds of the language. And basically, because here's the thing, like, when you only listen, guys, like, you're 100% relying on your ears. But here's the thing, when you know a lot of reading knowledge and you're to only listen, you're not just relying on your ears. You're relying on your ears, and you also have like an entire new knowledge backup base on how to aid you in listening. So if you hear something like, I want to blank dinner tonight, like, now because you have knowledge of English, now you can fill in the word as I want to make a dinner tonight. You're able to fill that in. But if you didn't have a chance to like fully tune your ears in on that. So you see how like it's detrimental. So that's why I recommend, guys, like if you guys want a perfect accent, like you're really just gonna have to focus on listening only. And this is the best way to do it.